Hey guys, Junloxy here, back with this is going to be sort of a mini review of The Flame in the Flood. We're going to start on the pause screen just because I want to go over the basic instructions and kind of show the other stuff. Now, this is not going to be anywhere as good as I envisioned it in my head, but we'll dive in anyway. So, first off, one of the reasons I wanted to do this is to kind of bookend the Let's Play that I did, or more accurately, the Let's Play that I abandoned. Right, because I did maybe 4 episodes. I was like, I'm not making any progress. This sucks, because this is a survival rogue style game, right? And we'll talk more about it here in a minute, but just to kind of prove, like, this is the end of the game, right? You go up north and you find the answer to what the story was telling you. Now, I'm not going to do that, right? A little mouse. I'm not going to do that because, for what it's worth, this is the only thing you could spoil, and I don't want to spoil it. If you, like me, got this game for free when they were giving it out to everybody, it's kind of neat. But yeah, so before we continue, if you don't watch anything else in the video, if you want a recommendation as to whether you should play this or not, if you got it for free, give it a try. Everyone else, I would basically say no, with maybe an exception or two. And those exceptions would essentially be if you're like, like a speedrunner, you enjoy efficiency, you enjoy doing stuff and kind of, optimizing your build order or cutting down your speedrun time or whatever by fractions of a second. You enjoy that sort of repetition, this game is for you. If you enjoy really, really hard things that are heavily RNG based, the only game that pops into mind for me would be FTL. Although FTL is far more complex, and this is way more simple. But if you enjoy that, this game may be for you. And the other one is if you just enjoy, shutting your brain off and just kind of playing a game just to kill time, this game might also be for you. So these 3 categories, I guess, would be a tentative recommendation. Well, I guess 4, because if you got it for free, give it a try, but everyone else, I would say no. Part of the reason why it's a little more in-depth than I was planned to do, but this is going to be like a review thing, so let's do that real fast. So you basically, when you have a game, disregard the aesthetics, the whole 8 to 11 things that make gameplay interesting. This is more like what causes people to enjoy a game and keep wanting to play it. And for me, I've basically narrowed it down into 2 categories. There is gameplay and story. On the one end of the spectrum, gameplay, you can have like an arcade style, Mario or a princess is another castle, where the story is just there to window dress, right? It's all about the gameplay. The game itself needs to be good, right? If you want a good game, you can either have good areas or greatness, I guess, in one of those 2 areas, right? So you can have a good arcade style game like the Mario games, or you can go all the way in the totally opposite direction on the other side of the spectrum and do story. And the gameplay can be mediocre or non-existent. As long as the story is good, you can still have an enjoyable experience. For example, look at walking simulators or visual novels, right? Need to have one of the 2 and have it be good to carry the game. The story in this game is virtually non-existent. It's more of an arcade style, right? Like I said, you go up north, you get the answer to the question of what the story is. So the story is basically your character, you don't really know. It's sort of given to you as a random finding. You could sort of piece it together, but essentially there was some sort of disaster, probably a biblical flood, and either everybody died, or no one knows really what happened to the survivors, if there are survivors. So the question is, are there survivors? You get your dog, and we'll show this in a second because I'll restart a new game and kind of show you some of the gameplay and stuff. This is the end where all of your survival meters and stuff are turned off. Maybe, potentially, you could still die of hunger here, even though they're hidden, which is why I have it paused. But your dog finds you, has a backpack with a radio in it. You hear something about an evacuation site. You're like, hey, let's do that. So you start going downriver, and that's the story. You find a couple things of, hey, Mario or a princess in another castle along the way, and then you get here to the end, and if you go past this, you get the answer as to whether there are survivors, essentially. That's the story. Like I said, it's window dressing to put the gameplay off of. So the story is non-existent. How's the gameplay? It's okay. It's all right. Like I said, it's a rogue-style survival game. It's very simple. I mentioned, FTL, where it's like heavily RNG focused. Very simple. You can have runs that just get killed because you can't find any of the basic ingredients that you need. And you live as long as you can, and then that's it. That's your run. Or you can have runs go fantastic because you find everything you need immediately. So it's like gambling, I guess. So that's part of why I wouldn't recommend it, because the gameplay kind of sucks. Story also sucks. There's really nothing. The main draw is the music and the aesthetic style, which is fantastic. Both of them are fantastic. But let's quit to the main menu. Oh, actually, first... Right, so the basic instructions. Travel the river by raft in search of locations to explore. And this is more than you get in the game. The game sort of just throws you in. And there's, like, tutorial stuff, but not really. You sort of have to play by doing. And this is more than you ever get. This is your tutorial right there, basically. Collect supplies to stay fed, hydrated, warm, and healthy. Rest when possible to regain energy. Take shelter to escape rain during the storms. Those are sort of unnecessary, both of them. Especially the farther you get, the temperature keeps dropping, and you're going to be wet and cold constantly. Because that's the difficulty, right? Kindle fires to warm yourself when cold or wet. That's not going to happen because it's going to be raining almost constantly. Additional crafting possibilities are available at campfires. Yes, you can cook food. That's it, basically. Access your inventory to use items, manage equipment, monitor your condition, craft supplies. All important, but clunky. Survive the wilds as long as possible. All right, so first, progress since your last save will be lost. That's fine. We're going to start a new game. Now, Flame in the Flood. Starting a new game, you can continue, which will bring us back to where we were. New campaign, new endless game. So there's two modes. The endless game, I think, was supposed to be the original mode in development. And their plan, as I understand it, was to cater to both the casual audience and the hardcore audience. Which sounds impossible and could be a reason why the game is... I can't really recommend it, to be honest. But strangely as it sounds, I think they actually do a fair job of actually trying to cater to both, extremes, right? But the endless game, I think, was the original campaign, or was the original mode, was the original game itself. And then people are like, hey, it's way too hard. And they're like, okay, well, we'll tone it down and add a campaign mode. Endless game is just hard. There's two modes, campaign and endless. There's also two difficulties, normal/easy and hard. And you can't have both. You only have one save file, by the way. So if you do campaign, yeah, we'll restart. Traveler's easy mode. Survivalist is, as far as I can tell, the same as endless mode, maybe a little bit easier. So let's do Traveler, recommended for new players. Checkpoints, normal abundance of supplies. Survivalist is permadeath, fewer supplies, stats diminished at an increased rate. Also, you have less item space in your backpack. At least in endless mode, you do. You start off with, I don't know, 12 spots, 12 slots, whereas in the campaign mode, you start with 20 and you can upgrade your backpack to 8 or 28 to 28. Jesus, I can't talk. Let's do travel. Scout options, you can change your dog. And I think all it does is change the name. So we'll hit start. We'll watch the intro. That's presumably the dog's last companion. Maybe that was... I don't know. You can skip if you wish. I don't know why the dog is wearing glasses. Maybe the dog isn't wearing glasses, just the visual style. Alright, so there you go. Dog walks up, brings... This is you. This is Scout. Brings your character a bag. Little symbol. That's where we were at the end. And a radio. SOS, Camp Pinewood, new goal, radio signal. So this is where the game is clunky. Time doesn't move in this intro area, which is handy, okay? Traveled 0 miles, day 0. This is the time gauge, what day-night cycle, and your temperature. You have your backpack, 0 out of 20 slots. You have your quick menu, 1, 2, and 3, bring up health items, food, and utility stuff. Unfortunately, if you have 3 selected, it doesn't close the menu. It's awkward. It almost feels like it was also designed for mobile users, which is maybe why the controls are a little weird. You have to hit escape. Also, tab. You would think tab would open and close your pack. No, it doesn't. You have to hit the I button. Again, awkward. Most things are done with the mouse, although you can move with the WASD keys. Maybe the arrow keys. Yeah, you can move with the arrow keys and the WASD, or you can use your mouse for everything. Right-click to use the fire. You can sit, which I don't know if that actually does anything. You can sleep. Get charcoal, which is useful for creating a water filter, and then just cancel. Food, water, temperature, and fatigue meters, and this is your stamina meter, your blue bar above you for like running and stuff. Pull up I. Current objectives, radio signal. The old radio is still working. You just need to get closer to the source. Maybe find high ground to hear the message clearly. Once you do this, you get a little bonus. And this is your completed objectives. Now, this is kind of a flaw, right? Because these objectives are more like tutorial things, but they're throughout the game, right? What they actually do is they teach you stuff, right? So there's one that's like, you know, create a box trap to trap a live rabbit. And then you can use that rabbit to distract a wolf. Wolves don't really get distracted by it. But it tells you about something you can do and one of the game mechanics. So it acts like a tutorial, but it's more of a bonus thing during the game itself. You have your afflictions, which is you're healthy at the moment, but any wounds and stuff you any wounds you have will show up here. Again, it's kind of poorly designed because, like, there's a laceration, for example. If you get cut, you can either cure it with a bandage or cure it with a sewing kit, which are two completely different things. But if you click on it to cure it automatically, I don't know which one it chooses. It might choose a random one. It might choose the top one. I couldn't tell you. And then it seems like it's also kind of generally unresponsive. Like you click on something to cure and it doesn't always do it. This game has a fair amount of bugs as well, like your mouse just randomly disappearing. or you'll be moving in a you'll be trying to run from an enemy, and also trying to pull out, you know, using, if you use your quick menu while you're holding, like I can't move right now, but if you're trying to move while your quick menu's open, or sorry, if you move and then open your quick menu, you'll continue running in the direction until you undo this and then choose a different direction. It's not the greatest. I mean, it could be useful, but So this is the main game screen. There's basically two modes. There is this mode, which is like your survival exploration mode, and then there's the raft on the river. This right here is going to be about 80% of your gameplay. The raft itself is the other 20-25%. Honestly, my personal preference, this is terrible. Everything is clunky. Your inventory is kind of a pain. And like I said, there's bugs. And it's just awkward. The controls are awkward as well. You have to manually select. Like I really feel like tab should open it, and then maybe hitting the tab button should cycle through the different tabs, but it doesn't. Escape actually closes it, which is nice, but you know, escape also opens your pause menu, not opens your thing. Because by the way, when you have this open, the game's not paused. You can still get attacked. So you have all these different things. There's like 67 different things, but most of them are useless. Probably, I don't know, for every, like wolf hide, you have like 6 different things. Bear, you have like 6 different things. Rabbit, 6 different things. Boar, 6 different things. So probably half of these things are just clothes. And you can only wear 5 different pieces of clothing at any given point. So half the inventory stuff is basically useless automatically. You have your inventory, you have your tool belt, now this is actually an interesting feature. Aesop, or Daisy, your dog, can carry things over between plays, between runs. You could give Aesop a bunch of food or a bunch of crafting materials, and he can, you know, and then when you die, if you want to restart, which maybe you want to, it can give you a little bonus, right? It can give you a head start, effectively. Which can be incredibly useful because, like I said, sometimes, like, for example, to craft a stone knife, you need flint, braided cord. Braided cord you craft also from cattail, so you basically need cattails and flint. I've had runs where I did not find any cattail at all, and you need cord. That's the only way you can make cord. You need cord to make everything. You try and survive as long as you can, but if you don't have that or no flint, if you don't find any flint, you're hosed. Your run is done, basically. I mean, that's kind of what I mean about like the hard, you know, recommended to people that like hard stuff that's heavily RNG based. I suppose it's possible if you get lucky other times, and because you can find like grubs and you can just eat those, or you can find like mulberries or dandelions. You can find stuff that you don't need to cook and you just eat it. Maybe you could survive that way. I don't know. But so you basically run around Camp Pinewood. That's where we are. This is your tutorial thing. Ban. Press I to open your stuff. This is that. I already explained it. You pick up. Now, the dog, I have his bark turned off because he barks constantly. He's really handy. He'll still growl if there's enemies around. But the regular barks, no. Pinewood, yay. You see like this little like water ripples coming out from things that you can pick up, and the dog will also run up to it generally. But a lot of the time, get out of here. A lot of the time, it'll be hidden behind stuff because it's an isometric perspective. And so not only can there be supplies hidden behind it, or supplies that spawn inside of land, which you can't get to, there'll also be enemies hidden behind here. So if you're trying to like go behind a building, we can't go behind this one, but you try and go behind it, and all of a sudden you get bit by a snake or something. You're like, what the heck? So we'll pick these up, and then whenever you have the all the appropriate supplies, it unlocks the recipe, which is fine, but it doesn't need to be unlocked. Wolf info, great. The black wolf cannot survive for long in an encounter with the wolf. You need traps to kill it. Press space to frighten the wolf and buy a little time to flee. Yes. So I've mentioned this game is incredibly simple, and it is. Water info. Water is the key for survival. Jar to gather water from rain, wells, puddles, or the river. You may consume polluted water, but beware the consequences. Purified using a crafted water filter. It rains often enough that you could just hold the jar out and fill it when it rains. You probably don't need to drink polluted water. You know, maybe in endless mode or in the harder modes, because your meters deplete so fast. Maybe you'll need to then, but maybe not. I don't know. But yeah, I don't know why they need to unlock this stuff. But yeah, wolves will kill you very quickly. So will everything else. This game is simple, aiming for the casual players, but also extremely punishing, aiming for the hardcore players, right? You can only take a few hits before you're on your knees. That's something the fatigue meter is... Like, you just look at it and you're like, oh, when it runs out, we die or whatever. But no, it actually, this is kind of your speed as well. So any afflictions will also decrease this meter temporarily. The problem is, if you get attacked by a wolf and then you're trying to run from the wolf, you're like limping. You know, so we're running right now and we can run. We're just sort of like jogging at the moment. You get hit by a wolf, I can't talk. You're limping, and then you get hit another time or two, you're crawling along the ground, and then you're dead. Like, it's that difficult. Whenever you start, this gives you 4 unique things, or 4 random things, 2 of which will always be a jar and a water filter. Moldy lump, the only thing this is used for, aside from achievements, is you can cook 2 of these at a fire and get penicillin. Rags is you mix it with alcohol, or I think you can use it for a torch. Kind of this game's thing is it never gives you completed supplies. It gives you tons of basic materials. Well, tons might be too much. It gives you basic materials. There's a lot of different basic materials. And that's the problem, because the stuff that you assemble from that, like traps, there's only a few of them. You know, like, so the jar you can use for water. You can hold gas in it for when you upgrade your raft with a motor. You can use, poison sumac at a campfire and create a gas bomb. You could do several different things with the jars, but really you only need it for water and maybe gas. Or I mean, you could brew tea with it as well, but the jar is probably the most useful thing you've got. Everything else, like these cattails, you can make tinder out of them to light fires, but, well, again, it gets more useful when you upgrade your raft, I suppose. So that is, aside from the crafting, that's this. You check different boxes and run around and pick up stuff. I know I talk a lot. We're already at 25 minutes, and I feel like all I've done is talk and not even really play the game, but this is the game, you know? You find these mailboxes and you get missions, and when you complete the missions, you can collect stuff, but we haven't actually done anything, right? So, basic tools, craft stone knife and stone hammer. You'll need them to craft all manner of survival supplies. You get a campfire, which is great, but it's a single use and it consumes a slot. So river info. Steer, yeah. So even though you can control it with the WASD keys or the mouse, it seems like it's more geared towards the mouse. So I always use both. Raft meter shows your raft's condition. Find a marina to repair or upgrade your craft. This is the life points for your raft. If it goes to 0, you sink and drown. But I always have the mouse out because, especially when you're on the river, sometimes you'll try and steer real fast, and it'll go in whatever direction your mouse is pointing, just at random. So that's, you know. All right, let's go, and then we'll stop at a place, and then probably stop. But this is it. This is the game. Great visuals, really beautiful style, great music, which we're going to hear some of in a moment. And then you kind of steer your raft, right? And you can also go faster. And I'm sure I'm going to get copyright claimed for this, for the music. But it's great. It's great. I do have fun with this game, but it took about 30 hours for me to have fun with it. Up until that point, I was like, this son of a bitch game, you know? So, you know, you're floating down a river, and occasionally you'll find the rapids. And I gotta say, towards the end of about halfway through my first playthrough, about a third of the way through my first playthrough, I had, on the campaign mode at least, I had plenty of supplies. I'm like, let's just skip every landing. Let's just stay on the river as much as we can. And that's what we did, and I basically skipped 2/3 of the game just by staying on the raft. And that's a problem when the you know, exploration area, or, you know, going around collecting stuff, that makes up 80% of the game. When you can skip the majority of that, like, it's just a game that's kind of poorly designed. But like I said, if you do put time into it, you can have fun with it. It's I don't know. It's okay. And so we have a upcoming stop. Don't try and stop anywhere along the river except for those spots. That's the mistake I made at first. I was like, what do I do here? Like, how do I stop? And I was like smashing into the sides, and it's like, nope, you actually have to dock. And by the way, you have to click. You have to click once you get close enough. Also something I didn't know. But, you know, like any other rogue-style game, you just learn by doing. So we're gonna run around here. We'll pick up all these dandelions, pick up saplings. You'll learn which things are important and which aren't. But the problem is everything ultimately can be useful. And so, you know, generally you want to pick up everything. Another jar, which is amazing. So it's this, and then you explore all the stuff, and then you leave. You know, these shacks, the fisherman shacks, are very small. Other areas will be huge and have plenty of stuff. And look, I could talk for another half hour to an hour probably about the game and all the different stuff. But it's one of those things where, you know, if you got it for free, like I said, give it a try. If you're one of those guys or girls that likes to just shut your brain off and play through a game, after about 30 hours, you'll enjoy it, and then it would be a good recommendation. If you're one of those that likes heavily RNG-focused games, then you'll probably like this. And if you're one of those that likes to, you know, optimize build orders or do speed runs or whatever, then again, you'll probably like this game. But it might take you 20, 30 hours. So, you know, and I don't know. like I said, that's kind of this mini review. I have beaten the game. I've beaten it a couple times, actually. And if I watch this review and it sucks and I have to redo it again, then I won't really mind playing through the whole game, or the whole campaign again, at least, to get to the end, to start this review all over. Because like I said, the goal was just to kind of bookend the LP, you know. It's fine, but I wouldn't recommend it in general. So that's it for today, guys. Thank you guys so much for your time and attention. Really do appreciate it. Really hope you guys are enjoying these episodes, this episode as well. If you like my stuff, check out some of my other stuff. If you want to, give me a like or a dislike, whatever you want to do. Questions, comments, concerns, good, bad, or indifferent, leave me a comment. I read all of them. I try and respond to all of them, although it usually takes me a few days because either I'm lazy or I'm busy. Work for me is kind of crazy. It's pretty busy all the time, and in this case, you know, one of my sisters is coming to visit, so I'm going to be busy for the next like 4 days with her. So yeah, that's it. Like I said, I enjoyed it, but not at first. It took me about 20-30 hours before I finally started to enjoy it. So, you know, that's it. Hopefully you guys have a good one, and I hope to see you next time. Until then, guys, take care.